So we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about leading into the 6th here. We don't have any results, or at least I don't right now, in regards to the Georgia runoff and the Senate there. Like I said before, I don't care less about those people, but at least Kelly Loeffler has came out and she confirmed it last night during the big Trump rally for, I guess, for Purdue and for Loeffler there in Georgia last night. I listened to the entire thing and watched some of it as well. It was mostly uneventful, other than Kelly Loeffler just being a total bore for about the 3 seconds she was up there, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the newly elected House member, what a ball of fire she went up there. And if you can listen to a little bit of that kind of off-the-cuff speech that she gave from that Trump rally, she's somebody to watch in the future, because she is very excited, very good at speaking in public. Like, okay, I understand that there was like 25,000 people that were there and they were crazy rabid for Trump and all of his supporters, but she was light years ahead of Kelly Loeffler when it came to doing any sort of public speaking. Like, she was engaging. She wasn't afraid to walk away from just saying, yeah, Raphael Warnock is against abortions and he's been up there holding the Bible at the podium, and she's like just burying this dude like nobody else would. So I like that. But Loeffler reaffirmed that she's going to be objecting to the counting of electors on the 6th. It'll start on the 6th, but like I've said before, this is going to take a very long time, and I don't think that it's going to be over on the 6th. I think it's probably going to drag out for a little while. But we've got some clarifications, maybe on some of the rules on how everything's going to go down. We still don't know what Pence is supposed to do, could do, might do. We all know what he's likely to do is to just open up the envelope and count the electors anyways. But we got a growing list of people who will not be standing up and objecting to the electors. The first one here is kind of surprising, because Tim Scott has done some good stuff before, okay? He's worked very closely with President Trump, and he said as much. He's grateful for the work President Donald Trump has done while in office, and added he believes that the lives of the American people have gotten better because of his because of the accomplishment of the Trump's administration. He said that most elections include some modicum of error. What a nice way to just hand wave this away. Kind of like your future prospects in the Senate there, Tim Scott. You just hand waved away. He wants to work to end the errors, whether it's an intentional or not. Oh, okay, so instead of standing up for when they're the most obvious right now, you're just going to wait for another opportunity to? I don't quite get it there, Tim. Scott also said he supported Trump's legal right to pursue lawful avenues to probe and litigate allegations of fraud and related issues. I just won't be, one of those people who are helping you out, but if you want to go do it, that's cool. But noted that Trump's lawsuits challenging election results have not been successful so far because nobody wants to look at them. It's not because that there isn't any evidence of it. It's just judges going, and throwing it away. And that some were struck down by judges appointed by the president. Yes, and they, for the most, I think we found one that wasn't a Federalist Society guy, but for the most part, they're all just rhinos or from rhino institutions. Additionally, no state legislatures have taken back the power to appoint electors. Not like they haven't been trying, especially in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. And Arizona's an entire bag of tricks over there. They're trying to do literally everything. And they have subpoenas out there to take a look at the voting machines. But the board committee's like, no, these are ours. You can't see those. We're just going to hide them over here. So, I don't know, Tim just must be taking his cues from Fox News or the mainstream media instead of, looking at the facts on his own. As I read the Constitution, there is no constitutionally viable means for the Congress to overturn an election wherein the state has certified and sent their electors. You can still decertify the election, okay, if you come up with reasonable evidence to believe so, before their new president's inaugurated, by the way, whatever. Some of my colleagues believe that they have found a path, and while our opinions differ, I do not doubt their good intentions to take steps towards stamping out voter fraud. Importantly, I disagree with their method, both in principle and in practice, Scott wrote on his death certificate. In a statement. For their theory to work, Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats would have to elect Donald Trump president rather than Joe Biden. That is not going to happen, not today or any other day. I don't know if we're going to get to this in any of the articles that are coming up as well, but it's not entirely sure how the House is going to vote, okay? This is another one of those things that's not properly addressed in the 12th Amendment or in the Electoral Count Act, and something that Louis Gohmert was trying to figure out, but of course, standing. But here's something that's kind of out in the air, okay? The only thing that is certain is that a majority of the Senate has to vote on an objection in order for it to go through. What is unclear is what happens with the House. does it vote by state delegation? So does that mean, okay, when Arizona gets objected to, because we'll get to that in a minute, does that mean that the entire House has to vote for a simple majority in order for that to be upheld at the House's portion? Or is it just the Arizona House representatives who have to vote on it? It's unclear what the fuck that is, or who the fuck is voting for it. So again, Tim Scott is going off of partial truths and half facts in order to come up with an excuse to not have to object to this, which there's literally no downside to voting for, because like I've said before, and I think you guys probably know this as well, there is literally no problem with objecting to this because it is constitutionally enshrined. How we get to the end of this is a little bit obscure, but if you don't vote for this, you're just going to piss off the base of people who would be voting for you in the future, and you just piss off the people who would never vote for you to begin with. So what's the downside? Because if you don't vote for it, you're just going to piss off the people who are going to vote for you anyways, and the remaining little percentage of people aren't going to be enough once you get primaried, because that's what's going to happen going forward. And that's one of the only things of note that came out of the big Trump rally last night in Georgia, was that he said that, yeah, he's going to be down there in a year and a half campaigning against Raffensperger and Brian Kemp, which everybody kind of figured was going to happen if you've listened to anybody who's been close to the president as well, and not those anonymous sources that have been leaking things out. No, this is going to be a movement, whether it starts again in 2024 or 2022, that, yeah, everybody who's not standing up for the president right now is going to be primaried by people who will be standing up for the president. And here's the final piece of information that definitely came out of that rally in Georgia last night, or rather a lack of information that came out. Like I said, Kelly Loeffler pledged that she would object if she is elected. That is a good thing. But guess who didn't take the podium? David Perdue. He is much more likely to lose to Jon Ossoff, by the way, the last time that we looked at the polls, and the final polls were all within the margin of error, so it's tough to say how this election, the Senate runoff, is going to shape out. I don't know. But remember, for the Democrats to actually maintain or actually re-achieve control of the Senate, they have to win both of those Senate seats. If somebody's going to go down there and vote, aren't they just going to vote an all-Democratic ticket or an all-Republican ticket? Like, who the fuck would pick and choose? But because David Perdue didn't take the stand and he didn't say anything beforehand, he is not, or at least he hasn't right now, pledged to object to the certification. I think Kelly Loeffler's pretty much ensured that she's going to be victorious today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, whenever they're finished counting or finding enough Democratic votes. of course, hopefully. But Perdue hasn't. And that's significant in and of itself. So he's probably going to be a part of this cabal of, oh, there's nothing to see here, the Mitt Romney types, you know what I mean. Of course, he comes from a long list of people and a long family, a lineage of rhinos anyway, so did it surprise me? No. Is it disappointing? Not really, because I didn't expect him to do it anyway, so. Well, let's get on to Jim Inhofe, senator from Oklahoma, who's not going to object. Said his job on Wednesday is clear. There's only two things I'm permitted to do under the Constitution: ensure the electors are properly certified and count the electoral votes. Even when I disagree with the outcome, Inhofe, I'm probably pronouncing that right, and I don't care because I won't have to pronounce it for much longer, to challenge the state certification given how specific the Constitution is. It's really not when it comes to this crossroads here, Jim. Would be a violation of my oath of office. Okay, clearly you know more than, what, Hawley, Cruz, Blackburn, Tuberville, everybody else. Taking your cues from fucking Mitt Romney, I understand. That is not something I'm willing to do, and is not something Oklahomans would want me to do. Oh, I beg to differ, Jim. I beg to differ. But enough with the downer shit. Okay, we already knew Ted Cruz and 11 other senators are going to be down there, and they want to put forward the 10-day audit board like was enacted in 1876. That originally led to the Electoral Count Act. That's what Ted Cruz wanted to put out. 5 Democratic senators, 5 Republican senators, 5 Supreme Court justices, and just figure out what the hell is going on. But now he's like, yeah, fuck it. We've seen enough of shit coming out of, enough of stuff coming out of Arizona to, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and object to Arizona right now for sure. Senator Ted Cruz plans to challenge the Electoral College results from Arizona on Wednesday in a push for an electoral fraud commission. Yes, and this is another thing that's kind of put out there. It's like, okay, we knew that the commission is there, just how is it going to be voted for? It is supposed to be put before, I believe, the Senate, okay? Because it's just senators that are going to be there. It's something that's going to have to get a simple majority, which is highly unlikely based on all of the little cucks that are out there. I'll just say Collins because I'm tired of saying Romney. Would object to anyways. And that goes up first before they start objecting to the specific electors. It might be a little bit different, but at the same time, this entire process is going to be a fucking weird thing to do because here's some new rules that are put in place, but we don't quite know how this is all going to shake out. I don't know. The Texas Republican isn't objecting because he wants to set aside Arizona's results, but to force a debate on setting up a commission to study possible instances of voter fraud. A source familiar with Cruz's plans told the Post Arizona is one of the swing states that narrowly broke for President-elect Joe Biden because you're not allowed to look at any of the results there. The news means allies of President Trump plan to object to at least 3 slates of electors, forcing a debate for up to 2 hours for each state. And I don't know if we're also going to get to this one as well. It's unclear if Nancy Pelosi is going to allow the House to debate for 2 hours. She might just immediately call for a vote. And she can do that because the rules of this entire situation is a little bit undefined, and by a little bit, I mean a lot. A group of upper chamber senators led by Josh Hawley, yes, and now Loeffler and now Cruz, breaking from his crew of people that he's assembled as well. So they're just going to go ahead and drag out this process as long as humanly possible and try to set up a fucking committee, which gives everybody an out, okay? Like, okay, you set up this committee, you figure out if everything was on the level for the election, and hey, if it turns out that everything was on the level for the election, that's cool. That gives so many senators an out, okay? Because unless your constituents are partisan hacks, and I don't like to throw around that term lightly, you just kind of want to know who legally won the election, okay? If you're one of these people that keep saying no fraud, and you like your government cheese, and you just sit at home and get stoned and fucking jack off into the toilet all the time, there's intelligent people out there. Like, last time I checked, 70% of the population think that there was something fucked up happening with this general election, which isn't a small portion of the people, by the way. But yeah, I don't want to give anybody false hope. It's definitely a long shot because, as we can see here, Mitch McConnell strongly discouraged colleagues from ejecting any electors, saying it would trigger a terrible vote for Republicans because some would oppose Trump. Yeah, they don't want to have to go through a roll call of rhinos and put everybody on display because everything's going to be on C-SPAN tomorrow. So I guess C-SPAN's probably going to get some of the best ratings that they'll ever get. And then John Thune, who's going to get primaried by Kristi Noem in 2022, and it's going to be glorious. Recently told, he's the Senate Majority Whip, by the way, second in command for Mitch McConnell. The challenge would go down like a shot dog. Could have just said like his career. And a large number of Republican senators said publicly this week they wouldn't support the objections. Yeah, we can already run through the ones in our head. Tom Cotton, Romney, Murkowski, Collins, now Scott, and confusing name from Oklahoma. Like I said, it's highly unlikely, but at the same time, you should probably figure out what the fuck is actually going on with the election. There's significant evidence out there, even as misconstrued as it continuously gets reported. But here are these rules that I've been alluding to at the same time. Congress approves rules regulating January 6th electoral vote. That's interesting why they would push this through. Now, this was reported late yesterday, so House of Representatives and Senate on January 3rd adopted rules that outline the counting of electoral college votes will take place on January 6th. Could take a little bit longer too. The rules were passed without recorded votes. Instead, a voice vote was used in both chambers. Wow. Nothing like being transparent about things, though. It's almost like you guys just want to push these through as quickly as humanly possible. The guidance introduced by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, of course it is, says the chambers will meet in a joint session on January 6th, presided over by Vice President Mike. So he will open all the certificates and papers purporting to be certified or certificates of electoral votes. The rules state a nod to the fact that 7 states sent so-called competing electors to Washington, certificates for both Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. So, okay, he's going to be opening up the additional electors we'll run them down hopefully one last time. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico. It's going to open up everything and have them on a big table. The certificates and paper will be opened, presented, and acted upon in alphabetical order, starting with Alabama. Just going to have to wait until the fourth one comes around. Arizona's number 4, I think. This is when dozens of Republicans, at least 50 representatives, and 12 senators, according to the Epoch Times tally. This is a couple days old at this point, so could be a lot more than that, but that is at least the bottom basement right now. Are planning to object. Obviously, that will trigger a withdrawal from the joint session and a 2-hour debate followed by a vote in each chamber. Only a majority of the vote from both the House and the Senate would be would a challenge be upheld, which even supporters find unlikely. Yeah, being completely honest, okay? It's going to take rhinos and it might take some Democrats in order to figure this out, especially if they're just going to do a simple majority in the entirety of the House, because the House is still barely, but it is, controlled by Democrats. And yeah, you'd have to get over McConnell and Thune. So yeah, they've done fuck all to really clean up what the hell's actually going to happen out there, other than Pence is just going to open up everything that's been sent to him. Cool. So it's basically going to be a fucking YouTube unboxing video. Now we got to get into the specifics of the day, because it's going to be fun to cover. Hopefully it's peaceful. If Antifa shows up, it won't be, but if it's just Trump supporters, they have a pretty much a spotless record of just holding peaceful protests, okay? And I'm not being like a CNN fire in the background peaceful not like my Ronnie Lott art piece display. I don't know the proper terminology for it, whatever. It's not like that's going to blast into a million pieces and then I'll call them mostly peaceful videos. No, we got some weird stuff already, okay? We got to invoke the name of the left's boogeyman, the Proud Boys, because Proud Boy leader was arrested heading into DC. It was a little bit weird at the time, okay? Because some people were doing secondhand reporting because Enrique Tarrio couldn't be on any sort of platform because he was arrested. And it's a little bit weird, okay? And let's clean this up, because the Proud Boys are going to have a massive presence there, and they only engage Antifa once Antifa start fucking up, okay? Let's be completely honest on that one. There's one scenario that Tim Pool constantly likes to reference where, Proud Boys started at first, but the way that Tarrio tells it, and he was actually there, was that Antifa was inciting the violence. So if you guys want to take that one thing and run with it, by all means, but we can also sit down and have a conversation at a bar, because there's one bar on one side of the road and then there's another bar on the other side of the road, and they're just asking if he can sit down and have a conversation. The other side of the bar is just asking and yelling and calling you names. We get it, Tim. You have 3 stories. Anywho, Enrique Tarrio, leader and co-founder of the Proud Boys. Was he a co-founder? Well, I know how the Proud Boys actually started. It was a joke on Anthony Cumia's network, founded by Gavin McInnes. Well, his show was. And it was making fun of a producer, and I don't think Tarrio was anywhere around there, but he might have founded a chapter, so okay, fair enough. Was released but ordered by a judge to remain outside Washington, D.C. until his next court hearing, which is something that you can definitely legally do. Tarrio is facing charges for destruction of property and 2 felony weapons charges. According to officers, he was in possession of 2 high-capacity magazines at the time of his arrest on Monday, reported by WTOP. Superior Court Magistrate Judge Renee Raymond released Tarrio on his own recognizance, but he has to stay outside of Washington until June. Okay. Tarrio pleaded not guilty to the charges, and his lawyer asked the judge to instead order Tarrio to stay away from Black Lives Matter Plaza and its surroundings. However, the judge asserted that Tarrio could vandalize other signs pertaining to Black Lives Matter, citing Tarrio's social media posts. There are Black Lives Matter banners, posters, placards, signs in front of people's homes, and the like throughout Washington, D.C., said judge, so I'm denying your request. Tarrio was accused on Monday of burning a Black Lives Matter banner. Yeah, I didn't want to jump the gun on this one. Allegedly torn down from Asbury United Methodist Church in downtown Washington. Oh no. And he had 2 magazines on him. However, will he survive? You know what? If he was just part of Black Lives Matter, this would be such a much larger story, because it would just be another instance of the courts abusing a helpless black man. The church community is, in some ways, of course, feeling some relief following the arrest, said Reverend Dr. Anther Mills. Mills. In an interview on Monday, she said that regardless, we remain concerned at the high number of expected protesters in the area. But you think that you have the red X above your door, so they're just going to go ahead and pass by. And by them, I mean Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Yeah, just ask like that guy who had a Biden-Harris sign in his front yard in Portland, and then they were trying to burn down his house. So, It doesn't work that way, bitch, as I say to a lady of the cloth, whatever. Oh yeah, there's another example of Black Lives Matter Antifa being in a peaceful protest. The Black Lives Matter protesters seen at a riot in Portland, Oregon on the 1st of August. But yeah, see, they're there for the good cause. They've got the mark of the anointed on. According to the Proud Boy website, the group focuses on protecting free speech. Yes, we've already gone over that on one of my videos that is age-gated because I did the dastardly deed of trying to tell you what the Proud Boys are actually all about right after Joe Biden name-dropped them at the first presidential debate, not election, when everybody was running wild that they're a white supremacist organization. Meanwhile, that's the guy who's at the helm. So yeah, long story short, is freedom of travel is being restricted by the highly politicized judicial class, and I don't think anybody can argue that that is the future that we're going to be having for a much larger group of people, because just because it's somebody who's so outspoken and a part of a controversial group doesn't mean that that's ever going to be where it stops. Today it's Tarrio, tomorrow it's your neighbor with a Trump flag. That'll just be one of those little boxes that you'll have on your vaccination passports that the CDC is issued out, by the way. Yeah, it'll have your date of your first immunization, then your second immunization, and then it'll have your political affiliation right underneath of it, and then followed at the bottom by your social media handle so they can follow you on everything. But yeah, so a guy who's actually been a force for good in stopping Antifa from destroying, well, Washington, because they chased Antifa away when they were attacking a hotel during the, what was that, December 14th? I think, yeah, December 14th, because December 16th is when the electors were originally sent in by the states. Yeah, Antifa were accosting people that were staying at a Washington hotel. Police weren't doing anything about it. The Proud Boys came in and chased them off twice, because the police officers in Washington, D.C. are very good at their job. But at least the Proud Boys are going to have some backup. Or the police department. Depends on how the National Guard are going to go about the protest that's going to be there. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser activates National Guard for Trump rally tomorrow. Guns to be banned. I guess you got to be consistent because you just threw out a black guy who had magazines on him, not even fucking firearms. Washington, D.C. authorities have activated at least 340 National Guard troops to protect the U.S. Capitol in the face of a demonstration called for Wednesday by supporters of President Donald Trump. The organizing group have estimated that about 15,000 people were gathered in downtown D.C. when Congress meets to certify the Electoral College votes from the for November 3rd presidential election. It's going to be much larger than 15,000 people. I will pretty much guarantee that at this point. Based on everything that I've seen and based on estimates out there, it's going to be a lot larger than at first rally in early December, late November, I can't remember when it was. Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser said in a press conference that she was considering the option of declaring a curfew, and a Metropolitan Police Chief, Robert Conte, said he had received information that certain individuals try to enter the District of Columbia with assorted weaponry. Oh, he's received anonymous sources that tell them that they're going to be bringing in guns. Oh my word. You should probably go with that. Hell, CNN will run a fucking article for you. I'm sure that they're probably spurging out right now, but I couldn't be asked to click on their website. Conte added that the authorities expect a larger crowd in a demonstration than a previous pro-Trump events in the city, some of those earlier demonstrations having resulted in violent confrontations. Why were they violent, by the way, Conte? Care to clear that up for everybody? Because if you won't, I will. I've covered it extensively. That was when Buddy got sucker punched in the back of his head, not my head. I was comfortably sitting here yelling at the camera. And you know who that was by? Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And pretty much every commentator that I know who can get on a plane is going to be down there tomorrow. So the one thing I can agree with Conte on, it's going to be a much larger crowd than what is originally expected. And you know why else I think? You know why I also think that that's the case? I almost got too excited for myself there. President to speak at pro-Trump rally in D.C. on sidelines of Electoral College certification. Yes. Okay. Trump drove past the first one. The Million MAGA March was what it was originally called. And then the pictures were out there showing a couple of those intersections were completely swarmed. InfoWars egregiously reported that there was like 200,000 people. Most people with a set of eyes could say that there was somewhere around, 20,000-30,000 people if you're being super generous. And then the second go round was 15,000 to 20,000 people. Low end about 10, high end about 20. And this one's going to be fucking huge. Huge, huge, huge. Because a couple of people I've seen, yep, I'm flying down and my entire plane's filled with so many Trump people. I'm driving across the country, 10-hour stops, or no stops on my 10-hour trip to get there. Yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be very big because for all intents and purposes, this next week, however long this process is going to take, if it's going to be 6 or 7 two-hour debate sessions, yeah, it's not going to be over on the 6th, and especially if that council of people, and it's definitely an off-handed chance that that actually does happen. Like I've said repeatedly, I think you guys have heard that ad nauseum at this point. Let's see what Trump's going to do. I'll be speaking at the Save America rally tomorrow on the Ellipse at 11 a.m. Eastern. Arrive early, doors open at 7 a.m. Eastern. Big crowds, Trump tweeted Tuesday night. He can't go in the future and tweet. The president last month promised a wild protest in the nation's capital. Yes, he has been advertising this one quite a lot. He has also tweeted, because this is what Fox News has devolved into, just reporting on the president's tweets and kind of what media has become in the past 4 years anyways. So Washington is being inundated with people who don't want to see an election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats. Our country has had enough and won't take it anymore. We hear you and love you. From the Oval Office, make America great again. It's gonna be huge, and I'm looking forward to it because when the sun is out and it's shining and it's daylight hours, the Trump rallies are always, always, always peaceful. And then as soon as you put in rhinos or Democrats, like this one hurts my heart. It's just off to the side there. Like Schwarzenegger's just becoming the world's largest rhino, and he keeps getting press like this because, well, he's Schwarzenegger, but at the end of the day, he's also a Hollywood actor. And we can't discount the fact that his father was a Nazi officer. God, that hurts. But yeah, something else that wasn't reported on the GOP USA article that we had up there saying that the National Guard is going to be pulled in. Muriel Bowser thinks that she knows the Constitution better than anybody else, reminded the public and anyone attending the rally that firearms are prohibited within 1,000 feet of any First Amendment activity. So you're allowed to go out there and express your First Amendment, but that second one, oh, that's a little too problematic. But at least she's getting her police force to go out there and put up signs saying the firearms will be prohibited. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Tell Lauren Boebert, new representative from California who's carrying her Glock at fucking Parliament Hill all times. So whatever, it's going to be huge tomorrow. I'm going to be covering it hopefully as it goes on, and then hopefully we'll have some clarity as to what's going on with that Georgia election right now. By the time that you guys listen to this, there might be some results coming in. I don't know. And maybe we'll have a clear winner. Maybe in the next video I'll be able to touch on it a little bit. So until then, guys, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.